Hello YouTube, brand new headset, brand new mic. I didn't really want to go back to the subject of tabloid press. I felt that I covered it fairly well, and I'm sure it's been covered by plenty of other people. But then I spotted this headline. Oh yes, they really did say that. Now let me read a little excerpt from the story that prompted that headline. 1 in 5 of Britain's population will be from an ethnic minority by the middle of the century, an explosive report forecasts today. Explosive, right? The figure will rocket from the current level of 8% to 20% over the next 40 years, it concludes. And the ethnic profile of middle-class suburban and rural areas will change significantly as black and Asian families move out of inner-city areas, it says. Overall, the UK's total population will soar from its present 61 million to 78 million over the same period. Anybody else seeing the problem with the language they're using? Rocket? Soar? The way that it describes the black and Asian families moving into suburban and rural areas and changing the ethnic makeup. I don't know if it's just me, but it makes it sound like this is something that's bad. That these areas should be white. Now, I know I actually used a few stills of some somewhat risky tabloid front pages in my last video on the tabloids, but I can honestly say I don't remember in my lifetime ever seeing a front page that's quite so racist. I mean, for one thing, 1 in 5 Britons will be ethnics means that the population will still be 80% white British, so it's not like it's going to be anything like a plurality. It's a very small minority still. And secondly, even if it wasn't the case, the use of the word ethnics is surely a bit outdated. You might as well call them darkies, for God's sake. I mean, I actually know people who read these papers, family friends and friends of my parents, and they read these papers and they believe them and they agree with them and they use them to actually base their news and their opinions on. But as far as I'm aware, to the best of my knowledge, none of them are racist and none of them are homophobic, which is another big one in the tabloids over here, but none of them are racist. So I don't understand how they can align their belief that these papers are very, very good quality news sources, which they patently aren't, and the fact that they spew such spurious, hateful nonsense at a pretty much constant rate. But the level of compartmentalisation that these people display is just stunning to me. I find it quite amazing, really. But just the fact that it uses scare tactics like this is insane. It's not like, I mean, it's a scare tactic that people won't be white all of a sudden. Oh my god, how terrible is this? They won't all be the same fucking culture. Ooh. I don't understand it. Why is this scary? Is it just me? Am I not getting something? Like I say, I don't remember the papers ever being quite so openly racist. Usually it's sort of thinly veiled. They're kind of, they never actually say anything like that, to the best of my knowledge, although I try to avoid reading these rags. But usually they say, they mention immigration. Or they mention, Islamic fundamentalism, and it's a bit of a dodge, really, because they never come out and say what they actually believe until now, obviously. And I just find it hilariously funny, really, in a way, because it kind of harkens back to the 1930s. And in the 1930s, the Daily Mail, my favourite paper, was owned by Lord Rothermere. And Lord Rothermere, he was not a particularly nice man, He was actually a big supporter of Adolf Hitler, and he fully pushed, for a fascist party in the UK. They actually had, after Adolf Hitler's rise to power, the front page of the Daily Mail said, "Hurrah for the black shirts." I mean, and obviously they know they can't get away with that sort of rubbish now. But it seems like the attitudes just haven't changed. And I think that that's amazing, especially considering these papers are consumed by so many people. So many people read these. The Sun and the Mail and the Express, considering that newspapers are still dying, they get a considerable reading figure. Newspapers are going downhill, but they get a considerable readership. This is not like it's some sort of, very, very minor thing only a couple of thousand people are going to read. This is huge. This is big across the United Kingdom, and I find it, well, I hope someone takes them to task for this. That's not the only one that have got them into trouble recently either. There's another one that escapes my memory, but I think that was homophobic, if I remember correctly. But I just thought that this was an absolutely hilarious front page, and I just thought I'd rant about the tabloids a bit more based on that. So there you go. Bye bye YouTube.
Thank you.